Welcome to the Leg Kick. I'm your host, Michael Asiffo, here with the team, San Stefano. Should I use French here? San Stefano? Stefano? Without Stefano? No? Okay, never mind. Stefano's not here. Technical difficulties has prevented him from being here, but let me provide you with my backdrop here. The VS screen. Or VB screen. It's like backwards. I tried to get it right. It is what it is. But anyway, David, say hi to people.
What's up, everyone? I'm just gonna start doing this now. I just watched a movie called I'm No Longer Here, and in the movie, the guy was doing star symbol, and I like that so much, so I'm gonna start doing that. No, check it out. It's about this kid in the slums of Monterrey, Mexico, and the trappings of the gang lifestyle. It's always refreshing to see, number one, an immigrant story, but also a gang story not involving black people. So that was always fun. So yeah, my star symbols. What's up?
It's crazy. I got into an argument yesterday about whether or not it's just a black people thing. I'm like, no, that's like borderline racism there, but okay.
Hilarious. Well, taking a huge left in the intro.
Sorry?
What's just a black people thing? Gang members?
Not gang members necessarily, but just like crime in urban areas, right? And I kind of, some people are irredeemable sometimes, but anyway, it is what it is. That man with the deep voice talking is none other than Jeremy, the legend Asiffo.
Yeah, I wasn't really much a legend in French class because I thought Sans was Spanish, so it shows you how much I paid attention in French class. Also, I want to give a shout out to all the youth sports athletes who are going to be affected by the COVID-19 taking away our sports for the 2020 season.
For sure.
Yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah.
Yo, tell me how you feel about that. And Michael, please clip this up because this is important. I feel like not enough people are talking about this.
Yeah, no, it's true. Just a preamble for everyone, and Jeremy's going to talk about it soon, but U Sports and the OCAA have decided to suspend their 2020 season, fall seasons. So one of the sports affected by that is actually football, the sport that Jeremy is a master of. So just want to spread that news out there for everybody. Jeremy, man, how you feeling about that, though?
Number one, please don't stop bigging me up in the football world because people need to know. But no jokes. But no, honestly, this came as quite a shock. I thought that we would be done with this COVID-19, at least like the brunt of it, by the time that my football season came around, but obviously we're not. I was hoping that maybe the U Sports and the OUA would be able to figure something out, but I'm guessing it's because of you have to have testing available and players are going home to their families. But it definitely sucks because as an athlete of any sport, you're working out, you're picturing what you're going to do in your head and the things you want to get accomplished. If you're a CFL prospect, so for football, if you're a CFL prospect, this is going to set you back a year, which is one thing I'm going to be following is I'm hoping that players will be able to get some sort of eligibility back, like for NCAA sports too, who missed the spring and also will be missing the fall. I'm hoping players will be able to get eligibility back. And the players affected by the specific reason will be able to play until they're 26 because the eligibility is to be able to play until you're 25, but hopefully they change it because of this unique circumstance. But yeah, no, it's not pleasant, but like a message to all the youth sport athletes, just keep working, just keep grinding, and and just keep hope alive. It's also not concrete, so like you never know, something might change.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I just feel like it's a little premature. I think there was still time to make that decision. I don't know if I'm in the wrong there. Am I kind of being optimistic
No,
or?
there is time, I think, but it's just a large part, like just based on everything that has transpired and what needs to take place in order for to conduct the season safely. It's just it's quite unlikely.
I
Yeah, no.
guess. I guess.
The way I would imagine this would happen is that they got a bunch of executives in a room and they basically did an analysis of what it would take to roll out the season with COVID, with a relapse of COVID, in terms of like a spike again, and they have to, kind of have even stricter restrictions. And they were just like, man, we probably don't get the money to do this, and
Yeah,
even
it's,
yeah, even though we're a couple months out from the season, I can see why they decided to go early with this decision. Because if they planned something now and then they had to kind of go back against that in a couple months, or they had to delay, like the costs would be ridiculous. So
I guess it's just that like you canceled the season in June. The season doesn't start till Labor Day. I don't know.
no, for football, it starts like August, like I think there's like 2 weeks of like there's 2 Sundays in August left when the
mhm.
They
season
didn't.
starts.
I thought they used to start it in Labor Day. No, like they used to do
Or
like.
like I don't know what happened, but like you only have like really a 14-day training camp, which is also something I have my opinions on, but it's okay.
You need. I think you need at least 28 days. But that's just me. Like I
Twenty-
just think that the U Sports does a lot of things wrong in my opinion. And that's just me. That's not Jeremy speaking. That's not David speaking. This is me, Michael T. Asiffo speaking. I think U Sports does a lot of things wrong.
The T
Um,
stands for terror. Um,
Error.
okay, cool. Yeah. Do we have any other thoughts on youth sports being canceled in Canada? Another thing that I wanted to say before I ask for more thoughts is that I wonder how things are going in the U.S., where there's way more money in play. I haven't heard any news of their season being canceled yet.
I
And
think because the NCAA has so much money, they can survive having like planning until the last minute.
if you're
Whereas U
Div One
Sports,
or
sorry.
Div Two, I said if you're Div One or Div Two, but by the time we start getting into like Division Three, I mean the
No,
scholarships
Division
start
Three's
drying
got
up.
some money. I'll tell
I
you
think
what. Division Three's got some money.
there's some money in like the higher Division 3 programs, uh, just because alumni and the amount of in America, Division 3 football is all that small towns have, so that there's a lot of money in that. But I was gonna say that I think NCAA is gonna take their lead from the like pro sports that happened in the fall. So like NFL, um, that's basically it really for like the big sports that start in the fall.
Yeah.
I don't know which other sports start in the fall, like volleyball. I know girls volleyball is in the fall. Um,
Technically speaking, NBA, but like they're gonna be pushed back to the winter now.
Everything's
yeah.
gonna be pushed back. Everything's gonna be pushed back.
But I think for NCAA football, I think they're going to take their lead from the NFL, see what the NFL does, and then they'll because I think the money isn't really a factor too. But I think they're going to have to like just based on the amount of players and everything, they're going to have to take their lead from the NFL.
Mhm. And that kind of ties into, I guess, our first topic, right? In a fall sport that was going to reopen, sorry, a sport that was going to restart, the new season was going to start in October, but now it's going to be starting in July, or we're going to be restarting the season in July. That's
Yes,
NBA.
yes, yes.
Please take us away, Michael.
Okay,
How about
so
that for a belabored segue? You like that? You like that?
That was actually
Yeah.
probably
don't
the
worry,
best way yet.
don't worry. You cut out for a lot of it, so it's gonna be a lot shorter than you think. Uh,
Edit it. Just cut it. Just cut it.
no, but the NBA, it's interesting because they are going to be restarting July 31st. They've kind of confirmed. Um, the players' union had a vote. They agreed to it, so on and so forth. But, a gentleman by the name of Kyrie Q Irving. I'm kidding. There's no Q. Could you imagine Kyrie Exante Goo Irving? You know, what's the other accent? Exante Grave? Kyrie Exante Grave Irving. Okay, anyway, he was not a fan, and there was an 80-player press conference in which Kyrie Irving displayed his displeasure. Now, I want to present all the facts that were displayed in this phone conference. Number one thing is that this was actually kind of surprising, is that Kyrie actually stated, when I was doing my research, that if everyone else wanted to go, he would go. He wants to be a united front. He did say that, at least with words. I don't know if he means that 100% of the way, but he said that with words. But he does, his issues with it are, excuse me there, that the NBA, he asked a lot of questions reportedly, and just feels that the NBA's start during the protests will hamper the protest effect and the change that we're starting to see down in America. There's a lot of other players that voiced concerns as well. I know Donovan Mitchell doesn't want to have an injury in a contract year. I know Dwight Howard is actually really scared. You know, there's a player who reportedly said that, and I quote, if we start playing, the story's immediately going to turn to how many buckets we scored the other night. So they're taking it seriously. They're thinking about long and hard. And the last I've heard is that the VP put out a statement, not the VP of player relations, but the VP of, I believe, sorry, give me a second here. It was here. VP of the, I can't remember what it was exactly, but VP of like the NBA put out a press release and said that they're working with the NBA players to, you know, to see if they can have a better plan to return to play. So with all the facts presented, well, most of them, I'm paraphrased a lot, I now throw it to you guys. Your initial thoughts on Kyrie Irving and your initial thoughts on these players. Go.
Cool. This is a Christian podcast, so I'm not going to swear.
Don't worry,
let's just say I don't give a hoot about what Kyrie Irving has to say about anything, ever. He's completely wrong. I just read the article, too. Like, talk about conflating an issue. He says something about systematic racism, but then starts talking about pay inequality. Like, which one is it? Look.
I mean, he can have both. He can have a qualm with both of them, can't he?
Can he? Who are the highest paid basketball players? And what are their races?
It's a good point.
Okay, let's not even get into that one. I'm not even going to get into that one because that's just so asinine. Look, if it's a contractual issue, then let's call it for what it is. Yeah, sure. A lot of athletes right now are getting woken up to the fact that their labor is seen as a commodity in the market. But at the end of the day, that's why you get paid the ridiculous amounts of money you get paid, because you have a really valuable commodity in the market. So, I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either you're taking a stance like, no, a human stance of, I don't want to play, I'm scared for my health. Or you're taking a stance of, it's unfair to play for, a bunch of contractual reasons. For example, I know, contracts were supposed to end like end of June, but now everything's going to be extended. So what are the implications of that? Like, when does the new start? When does the new, because, a lot of contracts are structured in a way that it increases or decreases year upon year. So when does the new year start and when does the old year end? That's a whole different debate. But when you start coming out with statements about like, we don't want to distract from Black Lives Matter, like, come on, buddy. This is, number one, it's a platform for you to show and showcase and promote Black Lives Matter. But number two, please don't like use this as a way of masking kind of real issues with the problem, because I don't see how, this is a systemic. I mean, apart from maybe they were like, I don't know. I can see where they're. I can't even see where they're coming from. Sorry, Michael, say something. Or sorry, Jeremy, say something.
Jeremy, I'll throw it to you. What's your thoughts?
I do disagree with not bringing the NBA back because you feel like it'll take away from the Black Lives Matter movement. I think if anything, it's an opportunity to big up the Black Lives Matter movement because you're going to be the only one in the news cycle. People are going to be talking about you. People are going to be paying attention to you. And just like because this kind of conversation was brought up even before Kyrie Irving voiced his opinion. And it was, what is the NBA's return going to do for the Black Lives Matter movement? And they can use this platform as an opportunity to make sure that what these people are doing, the protests, are front and center. And also, I think people need a distraction. It's kind of like what Dave Chappelle said in his new kind of 30-minute special. Nobody really wants to hear what celebrities have to say.
Let me stop you there. I love that he called back to his old joke on that one. He's like, who cares what Ja Rule thinks?
Yeah.
I love how he goes back to that old joke. I love that joke. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. And I say that to say people, although you have a platform, it's the people's movement, and you just supporting it by playing and having your voice out there in the media is only going to help. It's not going to hurt the Black Lives Matter movement. So I think for people's sanity, I think it's better if they return to play. And it'll be something that'll bring us together. It's a world movement now. There's already so many people, asking for justice for George Floyd. So it's a world movement now, and basketball being such a global sport, people are just going to support that. I also want to say one thing. This kind of like a jokey thing, but all those people who say oh, I'm with Cap, the people who say I'm with Cap have never watched a day of football in their life. So to say I'm not gonna watch football or I'm not gonna watch basketball because I'm one who would if the players chose to kneel or players chose not to play because they wanted to affect the economy in order to push for legislative change, I would be 100% for that. But unlike you, I'm actually sacrificing something. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Do you want to know what my initial reaction was to Kyrie Irving's little thing, the phone conference? Do you when I heard about it? You want to know what my initial reaction was?
Sure.
Okay. My initial reaction was that there are people in this world, we call them hipsters, right? They're hipsters, right? They like to zig when everyone else zags, just for the sake of saying they zigged, right? They like to be different. They like to be bleep disturbers, right? I'm censoring myself there. They like to be different, not because they actually believe in what they're saying, but because they heard a couple quotes and they want to do things a different way. Kyrie Irving is the same guy who believed the world was flat because he likes conspiracy theories. He's a very big fan of conspiracy theories, if no one knows. And he was for years, I'm talking years, into flat earth theory. He's a guy who, tends to go against the grain. And he's also a guy who, for better or for worse, challenges his teammates a lot. Again, for better or for worse. But when you start to hear some of the quotes that were coming out of this meeting, right? I get it. I understand. Again, he right off the top immediately said, I want to be a united front. If you guys are going, I'm going. He did say something that I think does ask a question or does need a serious look into is if you are an NBA player, right, and you do a Black Lives Matter or an I Can't Breathe shirt, right? Is that more? We all know they're voicing their opinion, and that's effective, and the NBA will let them voice their opinion. Of course they will, right? But is that more effective than being on the front lines of a protest, right? Of not playing, of the only thing being on the news cycle for months and months on end is talking about George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the Black Lives Matter movement. Like, what is more effective? And I don't know the answer, to be honest with you. I really don't. But I can understand if someone says, no, I think it's more effective to not play and to have this be the only thing in the news cycle. Because I think part of the reason why, this is weird to say, why George Floyd's story caught so much fire in the news cycle is because there was nothing going on and people were getting a little stir crazy from coronavirus, right? So I understand it. Now, do I like it? No, not all the way. And I think the NBA, because the thing is that he's saying things like, oh, this seems a little fishy to me, right? When he was asking questions, after he asked a lot of questions, he said, this seems a little fishy to me. That's the part I'm like, yeah, that's the part where I'm like, look, the NBA is a league that, again, for better or for worse, lets players voice their opinions to the upteenth degree. So I don't understand where you can now say
is one of the few organizations that supported Black Lives Matter the first time. They've done how many countless tributes to like police brutality, anti-racism, LGBTQ. I mean, they've
keep
done...
in mind during the at the ESPYs, those 4 players that spoke against police brutality at the start of their show one year were all NBA players, right?
It's so ridiculous, and yeah, man, I just the whole it seems fishy thing. Like, talk about conspiracy theory. What do you mean? The UFC's been going on for like a month now. All of the German football, soccer has been going on for like a month.
Yeah.
Italy, Spain, all reopened this last week. England is reopening this next week.
And the Black Lives Matter movement is still going strong. So I don't think that that's the right way to go about it. Now, I do think that there is something to be said of what's more effective. What is effective, right? I think there is something to be said for that, though.
Do you know what's effective? What's effective is if these millionaires donate to local or create a foundation that, I don't know, has some education drive, has some poverty drive where they're, giving microloans to families in need or small business owners, which a lot of them already do. So this isn't you guys aren't doing enough. It's more just, how does one relate to the other? Why can't you both support the Black Lives Matter movement and do the job which you're paid millions of dollars to do?
Yeah, and it should be notable that LeBron didn't join the phone conference, and he's probably the voice of the NBA when it comes to these speaking against police injustice.
And the highest paid.
The highest paid. And he's also got an I Promise school. And he donates regularly.
Come on, man. There's ways to give back. I'm just hearing excuses as to why you can't play. And that's one. If you don't want to play, if it's contractual issues, then I can respect that on a business.
Well, I think financially,
don't make it a racism thing. Is the NBA racist? What do you mean? Is white people who own a bunch of millionaire black basketball players racist? Yes, duh. But not playing is not going to solve that.
I will say, from a financial perspective, it makes so much more sense if you're a player to go out and play, just because of all the, not even just not getting your money for this season, right? Just even the contractual, there is a clause that if they don't play, the NBA CBA gets thrown out and they can make a new one.
I didn't even know that.
And right now, this is probably the best contractual agreement in all of sports.
For sure.
All of sports.
And this is the wrong time to be renegotiating anything.
Yeah, right? So imagine if the NBA owners just said, hey, we don't want to do guaranteed contracts anymore. Imagine.
They're not going to do that.
No, I'm just saying, like, those things are up for the table. Those are the things that are up for the table, though, right?
That's crazy.
Could you imagine if the NBA,
What I want to see is the NFL players refuse to come back unless they get guaranteed contracts. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
The NFL really should be doing what the NBA is doing. I haven't heard a peep from an NFL player. It's just like, oh, can't wait to go play for Master. Like, no. I want to see, like, some collective action, some collective bargaining.
I mean, to be fair, they are going to be kneeling and they're going to be doing.
Oh, man, don't.
No, I know. But I'm just saying, like, to be fair, it's not like they're. It's not like they're just like, oh yeah, crack the whip on me. No, they're just.
Yeah, but Roger.
I was just gonna say, if I was Colin Kaepernick and I saw them kneeling, I would just set that stadium on fire. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you mean to tell me this dude was blacklisted or blackballed for like 2 years for doing the very thing that they're doing now, and their stance is, oh, my bad, we had it wrong. Like, man, get it out of here, man. I'm never watching the NFL ever.
No, yeah.
Sorry, Jeremy. What are you gonna say?
No, Colin Kaepernick shouldn't come back. Like, he should embrace that title of being a martyr, because him coming back would just like you said, it would be like,
let the NFL off the hook. It would let
the NFL off the hook. And like right now, the NFL needs to have the microscope directly on them, saying, what are you guys going to do to change? What are you guys going to do? Because they are like participating in modern day slavery. What are you guys going to do to fix the relationship you have with the players? Stop catering to the owners. And Roger Goodell is probably at the end of his rope too, because he knows that he's done everything. He's answered to the beck and call of all the owners, and he's done everything to satisfy the owners. So I'm hoping that means that Roger Goodell is going to change his ways and be on the side of the players. But like, if he is, then that just means that the owners are going to kick him out. It's been like the owner's way or the highway league. So like, yeah, the microscope needs to be directly on the NFL. The NFL needs to change their ways, and that's what I said last week was I feel that as if Colin Kaepernick was also speaking to. It was kind of like a rebellious thing. Like, I don't want the owners to own me, like, and own my every action and every move. Like, they need to sign a new collective bargaining agreement as well.
The problem is like, here's the problem. And this is always the thing that I get very, very upset with is, so CBA's up, right? Every sport does this. CBA's up. They go into a lockout agreement. They seem like they're going to be on a united front. And only two leagues do this on a consistent basis, the NHL and the NBA, right? Where they are a collective front, they don't differ from each other, and they don't allow these owners to divide and conquer them. But the NFL, as soon as
in the players' defense, though, in the Players Association's defense, that was the goal for this season. But then the coronavirus hit, and that did affect a lot of what the future is going to look like for if the season was going to continue. But go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, the NFL has a history of time and time again pretending like they're going to be united front, and as soon as the first sign of trouble comes and losing their checks, they cave.
Yep.
Stop with the caving.
I will say this.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. There has to be a reason for why there isn't guaranteed contracts so far. Any decent negotiator or anybody who has any knowledge of unions.
Well, the problem with the NFL is that 1 week you're a top 5 player in your position, and you're literally one injury away from being
that
nothing.
Doesn't matter.
I know, but that's the argument that they put out there. That's the basic argument.
But that's a ridiculous argument, because that's literally every sport. Like, are you telling me the NFL?
It's not okay. It's not like the NBA.
If the UFC can have quasi-guaranteed contracts in terms of you have a 5-fight contract, we will honor your 5 fights unless something horrific happens. Why can the NFL not have guaranteed contracts?
It's different.
Like, it just doesn't make it. It's just a lie that we've been fed.
Because if you're let me break it down like this. I'm not saying, for the record, I agree with you, but
I get the logic. Let me
play the devil's advocate for you. If you're Robert Whitaker, who has a tough injury history, right? You can always recover for the next fight,
Can
right?
you?
You theoretically, because
What if you're
you're
Michael
not
Bisping?
compelled.
What if you're Michael Bisping and you have your eye knocked out? Then what?
Yeah, I know, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
but in football, there's always somebody to replace you.
Yeah, there's always somebody to replace you, and so the idea. Sorry, I just need to explain this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because the idea is that you don't have to, you are not compelled to keep fighting, right, until you are ready, right? And if you can't fight, then there's a guaranteed amount of money that you make. Like the NFL has, to be fair. There's a guaranteed amount of money that you make, right? Whereas with the NFL, the season goes on, right? There's 16 weeks. You're almost compelled to keep going, right? Because that's money off the table.
That's a horse manure argument, man.
For the record, I agree with you. I'm with you. For the record, I'm with you. I just want to make this absolutely clear. I think guaranteed contracts should be a thing. I do think, though, they should have a clause that it shouldn't go to your salary cap if you have a season-ending injury.
Sure. I'll take that.
Because of the NFL and the nature of that season-ending injuries.
You know that people are going to abuse that. You know that people are going to abuse that. But I just, how can we be in 2020 without guaranteed contracts? I mean, that's just kind of like, it's almost, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer or a legal expert, but that seems kind of like the antithesis to contract law in the first place. The idea of a contract is for certain amount of services.
Because they have partially guaranteed money, right? You agree to the terms on partially guaranteed money, and that's the loophole. That is the loophole. Otherwise, it's modern day slavery, by the definition of the word, right? And it's sad, but the problem is that the NFL. This is the thing, right? I don't know what it is, but whenever they lose a paycheck, they cave. And it's time. I don't know if the idea is have a fund for guys.
I was sorry. I'm sorry. I keep talking over you, but I was gonna say that anybody with half a brain would fight for guaranteed contracts. So there must be a reason why the NFL Players Association keeps going in and coming out empty-handed. Probably because the system's set up in a way that they can't win that fight right now. Hopefully, with the events of recently, that changes, but I'm not.
I think the biggest issue is that you just have some players who just don't make enough money to survive.
That don't make no sense. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's the position they put themselves in, right? They just don't have enough money.
Why have unions?
Yeah, I know, but that's why there are player associations. There's a difference. A player association and a union are two different things. I just want to make that absolutely clear.
I think it's the culture that surrounds the sport, one. I think it's the amount of games, two. Because part of the collective bargaining agreement that they stupidly signed this year was the fact that they wanted to add a game in order to, and some guys that were higher paid players didn't want to do that, but they're in a position financially to decline that offer. But guys who are lower on the totem pole will go for anything. So when you see that wealth disparity, like it's hard to be so collective and everything when with the amount of players who have such a wealth disparity, one, and then two, the fact that the culture that surrounds the sports with hockey, they have a
team.
They have like a culture that's like, oh, you tough it out, you play through injury, you play through this, you play through that, but they also play 83 games, so they're able to get their amount of money guaranteed over a bigger span of time, while the NFL has to get their money in a shorter amount of time. So I think it's everything that surrounds the sport that makes it difficult to come together as a united front like the NBA is able to do and some other sports are able to do. I just feel.
I just think that I think that if you're a players association, I think the number one way to fix this, and because players don't like to give up money, they tend not to agree with this, but I think the NBA actually did a great job of this, is they have a fund that if you are struggling, right, you can go into that fund. You get what is it? Something like a percentage of what you would normally be making during a lockout or in cases of emergency, right? But it's stupid, it's gotta be stupid crazy emergency. It's not like I might be wrong. Someone might call me out on it, but I think there's something like that where, like, in case of a lockout, people will take care of people, right, in their players' association. I don't know if the NFL has that, but I think they should start, because if they start, they can hold out for a longer period of time to get things done.
Disagree. I don't think it's that at all. I think that honestly, just they just need a. It's on the owners. It's not even on the players at this point. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know what this has to do with Kyrie Irving, but
No, but yeah,
it's an important conversation though.
Yeah, I think it's honestly on the owners, because the players probably want guaranteed money. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's the owners who are preventing them from it. So owners, fix up, and I don't want to see no NFL owner kneeling at all. Please stand up.
They're definitely going to kneel. It's a PR.
Don't kneel. No.
They're definitely going to kneel.
Anyway,
right? The same guys who blackballed the guy out of the league are going to start kneeling. It's crazy.
I'm so happy Dana White isn't even bothering. Like, you know where he stands. I appreciate that with Dana White.
But the thing about Dana White is that, like, I think if you privately asked him in a quarter, he'd probably lean a little left.
Oh, definitely.
It's just that, like, again, and I think it's a James Dolan issue. James Dolan has the same issue, is that for a while you're friends with a guy who happens to be the same guy against something, and it's hard to call out your friends on stuff, right?
Sure.
At a base level, if I was completely in the wrong in a situation, like, let's say I poked a guy in the fight, and I acted like a complete, DICK about it, would you openly, like, lambaste me?
Yes, okay. But that's just my personality, though.
Okay, that's fair. But you get where I'm trying to go with it, though.
I get where you're coming from.
Okay, right. I think that if you, like, put Dana in a corner, he would and, like, you put a gun to his head and he's in private off the record, he'd probably be a little more critical of certain things in the system, right?
Yeah, I'm just happy he's not kneeling, man. I'm just happy he's not kneeling. I'll take that, because you can't, like, not pay the fighters and kneel at the same time. Anyway, I want to start getting into some of these fight that happened last night. Yeah, where do you want to start? Do you want to go top down, or?
I love how we're called the leg kick and we spent like half an hour on
basketball. There's legs in basketball.
Man. But yeah, no, I guess, should we start with the weight cuts issues and stuff like that? Because that's my biggest thing. That's the thing I care about.
Get your rant over with.
Okay, I will say, in fairness to Jessica I am not faulting her for her issue there. It's 0.25 pounds. I think we can't be sticklers about this. Like, we're getting ridiculous at this at point when you start getting into 0.3, 0.25, 0.2, right? And you have to make it by 11 o'clock. I feel like if you could demonstrate that you're down to 0.2 or 0.25, you should get an extra 30 minutes to cut the weight or something, or maybe a reprieve. Because, like, this is ridiculous. I think this is ridiculous. And the same thing happened to Yoel Romero versus Robert Whittaker. And I feel like that's, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, a reason why Robert Whittaker ended up winning that fight, because Yoel Romero had 2 10-8 rounds, in my opinion, but they gave Robert Whittaker the fight because if Yoel Romero won the fight, then the title would be vacant. So, I just don't think that 0.2 pounds is a significant amount of weight to affect a fight. And if you're going to embarrass the poor girl's crying as she's doing her pictures, because she can't do, I shouldn't call her a girl, poor woman is crying because it's 0.25 pounds. And she, that's money she has to sacrifice on the table during a pandemic for 0.25. For 0.25, really? Come on, right? And you guys know me. I have a reputation of being a real stickler about weight cuts. Am I wrong?
You have to give up the same amount of money if you're 0.25 than if you're once.
Yeah. 25% of your purse. It's ridiculous. And I think that this is, never mind the fact that she lost the fight to Sylvia Calvillo, which is another bag of worms. But during a pandemic, she has to give up all that purse for what, 0.25? For, like, you take a dump, you lose 0.25 pounds. Are you kidding me? And I'm just, I sympathize, right? And this is me the guy who's hard on fighters who don't make weight. This is the hard on fighters who don't make weights guy, right? So
No, I agree that the UFC should pay for a nutritionist because as an athlete, you don't feel good when you don't eat the right things. And if you had a professional nutritionist, somebody who knows your body, who knows what makes you lose weight and feel good at the same time, I think that that's what the UFC needs to do because like I feel for the fighters who have to like starve themselves and then go into a fight not feeling good because a lot of your mental state has to do with what you put in your body. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care about 0.25. I mean, people miss weight. It is what it is. She shouldn't have missed weight, but at the same time, it's also just 0.25. I disagree, Jeremy. I don't think the UFC should pay for a nutritionist, at least not while, fighters are not considered employees. Until they're considered employees, they get zero benefits.
Why do they have to put in employees?
they're independent contractors.
Yeah, they're independent contractors.
Technically, they have a no compete clause, which is
Yeah.
I feel like if you're an independent contractor, I feel like no compete clauses should be illegal. I really do.
I mean, it depends on the case. It depends on the case. And
Either illegal or really regulated on what the no compete clause is. Like it's
Yeah,
such
if you're an independent contractor, you should be able to go fight in Bellator if you want or wherever.
I think it should be like we talked about this last week. It should be like tennis or golf or Formula One racing, technically. In fact, Formula One's a better example. But yeah,
I just feel
other
like
individual sports.
I get why they do it. I understand why they do it. They don't want to devalue their brand because anybody can beat anybody, right? Like I saw Ross Pearson lose to a guy on a rolling thunder kick, right? And Ross Pearson's like one of England's best, and
Yeah.
Well, then pay for
He
a
lost
nutritionist.
ages after he was out of the UFC, though.
No, I
Well,
know, but I'm just saying, like, could you imagine, right? You're Anderson Silva. You go to fight in Brazil and you lose off of like a spinning hurricane kick out of nowhere
That's
in the third round.
I'm just saying, like,
Sorry, go ahead.
So, Jeremy, go ahead.
no, I was saying, then pay for a nutritionist. A big reason why someone like LeBron James is able to be successful 60 years in the league is because of what he puts in his body. He spends hundreds upon thousands of dollars researching that, having somebody research that stuff and what works for his body, which is why he's able to be so successful.
Yeah.
And that's because his organization funds his lifestyle. Like, I just think it's only right. Like,
I would definitely
After-
say some subsidization would be,
I can understand where you guys are coming from. After the pod, I can give you my takes on how I think LeBron has sustained his career.
no, you could just say it.
No, I'm not going to say it on air.
No, but like I'll say this: wherever you're alluding to, he does need to eat the right things as well. It's not like a one track fix all thing
Absolutely.
of what you're alluding to. Well,
All right.
but
What I will
look,
say though is that in the defense of the UFC, they do have the PI, the Performance Institute, which is technically kind of has all of the services that you would need. You can get like all the medical stuff done. You can get crazy fitness tests and test all that kind of stuff. And although if I'm not mistaken, I think you actually have to pay for it as opposed to
Do you
for it.
see where I'm going?
Yeah, no, for sure. But once again, it comes back to the fundamental of a question of, is it an independent contractor? Is it an employee? If you're an independent contractor, then I'm sorry, you're gonna have to pay for these services because
look, I just feel like, look, if you want to avoid embarrassments like Carl Roberson the other night, although him is more so a case of laziness, but with Jessica I, it's more of a case of, look, it's 0.25 pounds. I definitely think if she had I don't know if she might have Mike Dolce as her nutritionist, but like I kind of know what Jessica I is making. I kind of understand her financial situation. A nutritionist would be a lot of money for her. and it would not be like a drop in the bucket for her.
Jessica Ai, they promoted that fight yesterday by saying Jessica Ai, after her last loss against Valentina, went home and made a home gym. I just thought it was ironic that she had a home gym and also missed weight. That was the only thought that came to mind.
Because it's a nutrition issue. She was. I'm not going to say what she was.
It's a weight cut issue. It's a weight cut issue. Let's tell it for what it is. Look at how many people dropped out of the card to begin with. It's a weight cut issue.
It's okay. The problem I'm having with the whole weight cut issue is that, look, I do think philosophically guys are cutting too much weight. Like
and not only are they cutting too much weight, they're giving guys 10 days notice.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like, we got to call it as it is. Like, this is unrealistic expectations, and we can't be mad at people who are taking off 20, 30 pounds in 10 days when they're like a couple pounds over. Like, I mean, it's just unfair. I agree with you in terms of like nutrition, but at the same time, they shouldn't be cutting weight in the first place. They should be employees with benefits, so they should be getting that nutritionist.
Well,
anyway.
the problem is in the context of combat, weight cutting works. I'm sorry, it works.
No,
it works. Look,
how does it work?
David,
what's your scientific basis? Wait. What's your scientific basis? How does it work?
Because many fighters who, especially in the early times, who were successful, were cutting 20 pounds of weight. Matt Hughes, famous for cutting 20 pounds of weight. He would walk around damn near 200 pounds, right? Sean Shirk, cut weight, right? You know, like you go up and down the list. But now
there's also many fighters that don't cut that much weight too, like DC.
Okay, but DC used to cut weight to 205. Like let's
not.
But
he doesn't anyway.
He was a champion anymore.
And some would say that his performances even improved once he stopped cutting weight.
Okay, fair, but like he's also one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, right?
You can't have your cake and eat it. Okay. You're either an athlete or you're winning because you're cutting weight. Like you're either good or it's because you cut the weight. You know what I mean?
Like he was a champion at 205, right? Like he was cutting the weight there too.
We're making this argument. Like weight cutting literally has zero.
I think it's for everyone? Do I think weight cutting is for everyone? Do I think cutting 30 pounds is for everyone? No. Do I think you should cut 30 pounds in the first place? No. But look, there are numbers and statistics to prove that if you cut weight, it will work.
Sorry, bring these numbers and statistics. Bring these numbers and statistics.
All right.
I am not seeing
outside the show. I will admit though, without the use of IVs, guys have gotten it's not as, it's not as successful as a process.
I just want to show, let's not even do the UFC test, because I know for sure. In fact, let's do our homework for next week. We'll look it up. Whether weight cutting has been scientifically proven to improve one's performance. I would actually say it's probably the opposite.
No, I'm not saying it improves your performance. Like I think that you perform better when you don't cut the weight technically in terms of
sorry. What are you talking about?
Hold on. In terms of speed, in terms of conditioning and everything, you are better with your weight cut. But the problem is that your conditioning doesn't help you against a guy who's now walking around at 30 pounds higher than you do.
The problem
he's gonna bully you. You know what I'm saying? He's going to bully you.
We're saying the same thing. The problem with weight cutting is that the other guy is weight cutting. That's
exactly. So you have to keep up with the Jones.
No. That's like saying the problem with steroids is the other guy is doing steroids. No.
That was for a long time, that was the problem, though.
Okay, but the problem is, unlike steroids, there's scientific fact that weight cutting over a long distance over long periods, especially a long career, can actually have negative health effects.
Of course, but you're asking guys, hey.
And also, I want to say weight cutting is one of the few elements of martial arts that's actually being associated with deaths.
Yes.
So, we're not apples and oranges.
I'm not advocating for. You're talking about guys who are cutting insane amounts of weight in insane short periods of time. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying though is. Sorry.
Hold on, can I interject really quick? What I've learned from my time being on this show is that a lot of guys, when they weight cut, it leads to dehydration, right?
Yes.
So this is why I'm saying a nutritionist would really help, because if you want to compete at a nutritionist will be able to tell you what foods to eat in order to compete at the division in order to stay at the weight that you're competing at, and also like live at that weight. I think based on the information that I've heard from this conversation right now, I think I'm kind of leaning to David's side of it's much safer and it'd be much more responsible to walk around at the weight that you're competing at.
I agree, but the problem is, sorry, go ahead.
And yeah, it might give you an advantage, but if you're doing conditioning drills, power, increasing your power at the weight that you're competing at, and you're walking around at that weight, a nutritionist can help you maintain that weight while also build muscle. Like we found out about.
But we just talked off the top how Jessica I can't afford a nutritionist. There we go. We can't afford a nutritionist, right? We literally just talked about. So how do we in one? This is literally a case of having your cake and eating it too. How do we in one go? She can't afford a nutritionist and UFC needs to pay for it, and then in the other go. Well, weight cutting. If you have a nutritionist, guys, hold on. I got the cost because I'm very upset with this.
30 pounds.
My point is that they shouldn't punish her if they're not willing to pay for a nutritionist. That's not having your cake and eat it too. That's me saying that.
I'm in that boat, but the problem is philosophically, weight cutting does work.
No,
you do get an advantage in strength when you go into the fight, right?
Okay, I don't know. I'm not a fighter, so I can't comment on that.
I'm not saying it's safe. I'm not saying it's safe, but I'm saying it works.
Not only is it not safe, the only reason it works is because everybody's weight cutting. So that it's not necessarily that it improves your performance or anything. It's just part of the culture that everybody seems to be doing. And also, I wanted to add on to Jeremy's points by saying that not only would it be healthier not to cut weight, but it would you would still have weight cutting if you eliminated or disincentivized people from weight cutting, because people already flow in and out of divisions. Like you have Jared Cannonier, for example, who starts as a heavyweight and then diets, becomes a lightweight, continues dieting.
Middleweight.
No, sorry, not lightweight, light heavyweight. Continues dieting, becomes a middleweight now. So you have people who go up and down divisions throughout their careers anyway. All I'm saying is that it should be in a healthy, safe, and kind of regulated manner. I don't know. I'm not an expert on weight cutting.
Yeah, I just think that
there's so many examples of smaller guys who have extraordinary power. Like all over the NFL, you see guys who are under 200 pounds benching 440 pounds. So like it's not impossible to be a smaller guy and still have power.
No, I understand that, but like even like the one example I have is Jose Aldo used to cut enormous amounts of weight, right? Yeah. Enormous amounts of weight. Became a featherweight champion and everything. Mm-hmm. They tell him, so now he's got cut down to bantamweight, right? And a lot of people were scared, but you know what he did? He hired a nutritionist. But this is, again, Jose Aldo made a lot of money, right? And now he walks around before I know for a fact he used to walk around at 180, 185 to make featherweight. Now he walks around at 160-ish. And I don't know the number exactly, but he walks around at 160-ish, 155-ish, and cuts down to bantamweight, right? But that's the help of a nutritionist. But Jose Aldo can afford a nutritionist. So we can't in one go, the UFC's hiring independent contractors, and so therefore they have to pay for nutritionists, and then in the other go, well, weight cutting's bad. Like,
well, no, actually,
because they're not getting the right things in their body. They're not doing the right things.
No. The UFC is not responsible for what independent.
So if they have fighters lose 4 straight because they're getting bullied around the cage, now all of a sudden like weight cutting, like that's an example.
How is that the UFC's problem? How is that not?
It's not the UFC's problem. It's the fact that weight cutting is a tool that if you can't afford a nutritionist, works. I'm sorry.
No,
it works.
no. You're not hearing what I'm saying.
I'm not. Look, you're thinking of guys losing 30 pounds in 10 days. I'm not saying that. I'm saying responsible, like 25 pound in 28-day weight cuts.
I don't care how responsible it is. Like I'm saying, like I don't care whether you do it over 5 days, over 10 days, over 20 days. I'm saying that if you want to lose the weight, and fair enough for dieting, but when we say weight cutting, we're not talking about dieting. We know what we're talking about.
No, I
We're
know.
talking about rapid loss in body mass through dehydration. That's what we're talking about. It's not through any other kind of fancy scientific. It's literally starving yourself of like water molecules and salt. That's what you're doing. So why would we promote that when we know the health effects are negative?
Because it's successful. That's what I'm saying.
No. But once again, that's using the results to justify the means, which you can't do. That's a logical fallacy. Just because it's successful doesn't mean it's good, or doesn't mean it's healthy, and doesn't mean it's good for the long term. It's good in the long term for fighters, I think. Anyway.
I understand that, but Luke Rockhold, Luke Rockhold is the biggest example. This guy would be 185 for like all of 30 seconds, go straight down to the snacks table, eat a couple brownies, and he's ready to go.
Luke Rockhold shouldn't fight 185. It's that
I know, but unfortunately, Weidman did the same thing. Maia was doing the same thing. Like, the only guy who didn't, ironically, was Anderson Silva, right?
Man, like, you're proving my point for me. You don't need to cut weight. It helps because everybody's cutting weight, but if you eliminated it from the sport or at least reduced it, I don't think the impact would be as bad as you think. And also, I don't think the impact would be as bad as you think. I just think that like the best guys do it, so therefore you have to do it. Like I don't think it's I truly don't think, I'll say this, I think that like California's got it right. What California has a rule right now is they will come to you if you are, let's say, 205 pounds. The best you can do is 185. You can't do any less. Well, I see you, but I think that they should make that window a lot smaller because just, there's enough studies. No,
it's like 20. Pounds. It's by percentage. They have it by percentage.
But there's enough studies to show that cutting that much weight isn't like good for you. But whatever. I agree with you that having some kind of regulation is progress. My thing about the nutrition versus weight cutting thing is that the two don't have, while they're related, they're not two opposite sides of the same coin. You can have no nutritionist and still fight. You can weight cut without a nutritionist, which is unhealthy. So the two don't have anything to do with each other.
Okay, but listen, when they lose 3 straight because they haven't cut weight, don't come crying here and telling me that like weight cutting is bad, because it is bad, but the problem is it works, and I don't understand why
we're going over and over in the same circle.
Yeah, we're going around the track.
I do feel like, just touching on that, if a fighter loses 3 straights because they were overpowered in their division, then they're in the wrong division. And then they have to weight cut down. And that's also another argument about why the UFC shouldn't have fighters go from like division. Like, if a fighter loses, the UFC doesn't lose brand relevance, or it shouldn't. At least it shouldn't. Like, the UFC's brand should be about the collective, bigger than just one fighter. So I don't see, number one, why they need to pay for nutritionists when all these guys are adults, and they're professionals also. Like, they're getting paid for this.
I just think that they can't afford. It's not that, like, if this was the NBA, this isn't a conversation. They can afford a nutritionist. They're adults. They can pay for it. It's X, Y, and Z.
Right.
They make their decision. It's a pro league that pays its fighters less than 20% of the revenue.
Not even a league. It's not even a league. It's an organization, not even a league.
Okay, but
the league would be a little bit better.
Right? The point is that, like, this is, you get what I'm trying to say? This is...
Wait, hold on. It pays the competitors collectively less than 25%?
Less than 20% of the revenue.
That is is an absolute.
We were just talking about the NFL off the top and how they need guaranteed contracts. Like, the UFC's getting hosed. The UFC players are getting hosed. Meanwhile, their sponsorship money has been cut by a lot of percentage, like over 50, 60% in some cases, because they can't have sponsorships on their shorts. And then you're telling them, hey, it's not our responsibility to pay for nutritionists. Come on, right? And you know what I'm saying? Now, look, I'm going to end it on that note because I want to get to Carl Robertson, and this guy takes the cake, right? So if anyone wants their final notes on Jessica Ai losing the weight and everything,
are we going to talk about her fight at all? I mean,
she lost. It is what it is. Like, she lost. Cynthia Calvillo looked good.
She looked real good.
Yeah, I'm not saying Valentina Shevchenko's around the corner, but she looked good.
Definitely not. Oh my goodness, no, don't do that, Cynthia.
But I will say though, Cynthia Calvillo is a welcome addition to the division. You know, like welcome addition.
Yes.
Keep on feeding that division because it needs it. I think it's crazy how the 115 division's great. The 135 is not bad. I know Amanda's kind of holding it hostage, but it's not bad. And then 25 in the middle is like, you know, it's like weird. It should be good, right? So let it, you know, prosper a little bit. But yeah,
Carl Robertson. The Robertson fight, yeah.
Yeah, this I almost swore. This lazy, disgusting, slob-like,
hilarious,
slob-like Jabba the Hutt look-alike.
Wow, take it easy. Man, Carl Roberson's your weight class, man. You bet.
No, he does. Yeah, he fights at middleweight.
Yeah, man, take it easy.
I will now be moving down to welterweight. No.
You little one those baby K problems.
No. I'm joking. But look, here's the deal. If this was one time, I'd be tough. But it's one thing to do this one time to a guy. Right, and in fairness, he was hospitalized. It's not like, you know.
Sorry,
you know, it's not like he was
again for.
Sorry,
what was he hospitalized for again?
I think it was complications due to weight cutting.
Oh, okay, just checking. Sorry, go on.
He did that on purpose. I love how you did that on purpose. But the point is that, you know, it's one thing to do this the first time, but then you do this again, like, you know, come on. I think this is ridiculous. I truly
didn't get it, man. I didn't get it, and I mean, yeah, I kind of echo your sentiment. I don't want to blame him, but it's one thing to miss it the first time, but like, you know, this is coming up.
Yeah,
you've agreed for the fights. Like, they didn't surprise you and say like, hey, you have to fight, man. Like, you were like, yeah, I can do this, and then something must have happened.
And this is where I get into the professionalism. I just think that, look, I'm not for, to be honest, as much of a conversation we had about weight cutting, I'm actually not for it. I think it's a terrible thing to do. But I do think that if you say, I can fight at this weight, at this date, you got to be a professional, show up at this weight at that day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, this guy, the one thing I will say, I was joking earlier about the whole lazy piece of, but the one thing I will say is that this guy is an immature, unprofessional fighter.
Take it easy.
No.
I will say this, though. He got cleaned up. That's what I know. I don't know. I've never met him, so I can't say
it's unprofessional. Listen, it's unprofessional, and it's immature.
You're really trying to get sparked out.
No, look. Right? Let's call it a buck. He can whoop me all he wants, but at the end of the day, it won't. Like, I'm not saying, hey, you know, let's call Robertson, come on the show. No, look, let's call it a buck.
Yo, what's your email, Carl? Let me send you an email. You want to come on like it?
Yeah, right. No, look, here's the deal. And, you know, for the record, he can come on the show. I welcome any UFC fighter to come on the show. But you agree to fight at this date after you couldn't make it the first time, and you agree to fight at that weight. Right?
Something must have happened.
You have to do the right things. I'm sorry. And if you can't make that date, if you can't make that weight on that date, why did you agree? Because you had another chance Like, they gave you another chance.
I can think of a couple reasons why he would agree for the money, number one. And number two, maybe he thought he could make the weight. And in cutting, for example, he realized he developed some of the same complications as last time. So he stopped cutting. Which is why he's so far over.
Yeah, so that means probably a move to light heavyweight will do for you. I mean,
no.
What's the alternative for him to come at 190 pounds for every single fight? By the way, it was 191.
Brutal.
It was 191.5. So he should come in at 191.5 for every single fight now. That's the alternative. Really?
What are your thoughts?
I can see. I mean, I think if you're a fighter, I think it is unprofessional. But I'm not gonna lie, I can see how this could happen. One, there are people out there whose weights fluctuate quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you can wake up one day and be this way and then not eat anything. And also not eating anything is actually a poor decision, because it makes you lose weight. It makes it harder to lose weight, but you can not eat anything for a whole day and wake up the next day and actually weigh more than you did the day prior. And also, this is a pretty far-fetched thing to say, but it's true that there are scales out there that work differently. So you can be a whole another pound heavier or lighter on one scale than on the other. So, I mean, that is also kind of a far-fetched kind of like you're stretching with that one. But I think with a culmination of things, it can happen. But I think as a professional fighter, it's your job to make sure that you cross all the T's and dot all the I's when it comes to your weight. So I tend to agree with Michael. I think it is unprofessional, but I can see why it could happen. That's all I really have to say on the matter. But I'm not a fighter, so.
I just think that like do we ever get into a story about how I had a fight canceled due to weight complications?
Tell your story because we're
okay.
Kind of
now this is in fairness, this is the fault of the promoter and not on any of me or the gentleman I was going to be fighting. I was going to be fighting a gentleman by the name of Roger Bridge. Shout out to Roger Bridge if he's listening. I don't really know the guy that well, but whatever. And we were told the fight's at 180. Now, because there's no division of 180, I thought it was 180 to 189, right? And the promoter said, yeah, it's weight class 12. Anyone who knows Muay Thai Ontario knows that weight class 12 is 180 to 189, right? And apparently he was told the fight was at 170, right? So I think in their mind they thought the fight was they wanted the fight to be at 170 to 180, like that weight class, right? But they messed up, right, and said that the fight was at weight class 12, which if you're a junior, it's 170 to 179, but if you're an adult, it's 180 to 189, right? So here I go. I come in at 183.5, right? Lower end. I don't know why I do that. I just like to come in because you got hydrated as well. And he comes in at 167, right? Thinking he's got to make 170. So we were told two different things, right? And the frustration, I nearly was in tears, right? He said, like in front of everyone, in front of the president of Muay Thai Ontario, I'm never fighting for Muay Thai Ontario again. Like, this is the frustration that we're talking about, right? And so if you're Marvin Vettori, who already had a fight canceled because one fight canceled because of the pandemic, another fight canceled because the guy didn't make weight, right? And in fairness, he was hospitalized due to it. You know, can you understand his frustration as to why Carl Roberson decided to come in at 190.5 pounds?
No, just fight. Just fight. And he won the fight anyway, so it doesn't even matter, man. All that, like, hullabaloo for nothing. I mean, I feel for you for, like, the lost paycheck, but other than that, I think, like, it's just a bunch of, like, testosterone for no reason, really. My thoughts, personally. All right, let's jump down to some of the other fights. I see you have here written down Tyson Nam Man, I've watched his first couple of fights in the UFC, and I've been impressed every single time he's fought. Like, he's super exciting, and I'm glad he finally won. He absolutely smoked this dude, Adasha, who's apparently like a kickboxer or something like that. But like, man, the dude goes for the leg kick, and Tyson Nam just bam, right hook, right. Good night.
Man, that's the one thing about leg kicks nowadays is a lot of people are starting to figure out the timing of like hitting that right hand when you go to the outside leg kick. And so a lot of guys are.
Do you know what's crazy is, and I'm sure you can relate, Michael, because in Muay Thai, especially if you're fighting against a more seasoned opponent, there's no way you're throwing a naked leg kick,
No.
just like that. But in MMA, for some reason that's all the rave, and I'm glad somebody was like, okay, you're gonna throw like some, even if it was a decent leg kick, he just threw it like just 30 seconds in, no setup, nothing, and Tyson Nam just counters it perfectly. So yeah, I've noticed a lot of MMA people don't set up their leg kicks like at all.
I mean, in fairness, like sometimes you just go to the well because you know the other guy's not really. That wasn't the case here. I think he just kind of threw it naked and lazy, and then he got ran the rights there. But like, even sometimes in sparring, I have this rule of like I will go to the well until you figure out a way to stop it, right?
Fair.
And, like for example, the last fight you saw me fight at with the Muay Thai and the Muay Thai belt, I went to the leg kick until he tried to figure out a way to stop it, and he didn't.
You were setting it up though. You weren't just like standing like 6 feet away and then jumping in and walk out. Like, come on, man.
No, in fairness, yeah, I was going high, low, went with the side kick every once in a while, came in with the cross to kind of. Yeah, I was doing things to make it difficult, but the main attack was the leg kick in the inside, and he just.
I guess with the MMA, if you are gonna throw a combo and finish with a leg kick, with a kick, maybe a leg kick isn't gonna be your first priority, as opposed to like Muay Thai and kickboxing, where it's more of a point scoring system. But
yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just weird that people are throwing naked leg kicks and getting countered. Yeah.
It's like, what do you expect,
Yeah, right? Like, I don't know. I'm not a fighter, though, so.
How do you think Tyson's going to fare against somebody who's, like, not shorter and has less of a reach than him and doesn't, make, I guess, an error like throwing a naked leg kick?
Yeah, well, I mean, the dude...
It looked like... I'm sorry. I just want to add to, like, my question. It kind of looked like he was really abusing, like, the reach advantage, keeping him at distance, at bay. And then just kind of cleaned him up with that right hand.
Well, that's a good point. The dude he fought was apparently seasoned in terms of kickboxing, but I'm not sure of his MMA credentials too much.
He's 3-2 in MMA right now.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. To be fair, he was on a 3-fight win streak in Bellator.
Okay.
So it's not like he was, terrible. And his kickboxing record is pretty seasoned.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that he fights in lightweights, or that was a lightweight fight. And if I'm thinking of some of the lightweights, I don't know if Tyson Nam, like at the top of the decision, I don't know if Tyson Nam is ready for that yet. I can't believe he fights in lightweight. I'm pretty sure he was a bantamweight.
It was a flyweight belt, so yeah, that's kind of weird if he was fighting in lightweight.
Because hasn't he fought like a Sergio Pettis, if I'm not mistaken? That wasn't his first fight.
Sergio Pettis is not bantamweight, it's a flyweight, because Sergio Pettis is Anthony Pettis' brother.
Okay, hold on, I'm getting confused now. Wait, so he fought that at lightweights?
No, he fought that at
flyweights. That's why. Okay, all right, my bad. I'm just looking at the ranking because I remember he fought Sergio Pettis, and I think he was not decently beat, but like it was a pretty close match. It was
pretty decisive. It was, yeah.
But I feel like he's on par with like some of like the vets, so he's nice. I'm just wondering whether his power is going to translate, as always with the smaller guys in the division.
Well, my thing with him is that, like, with Tyson Nam, he's good enough to beat these guys who come in as newcomers into the UFC, especially in the flyweight division. But I just don't see him being good enough to beat anyone ranked, like on a consistent basis. Like, I wouldn't put him in there and be like, yeah, 2-fight win streak against the ranked opponents.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know. You never know, but he's in his 30s. He's had a lot of fights already. But I like his style. Man. He reminds me of kind of like the best guy in the gym. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like he's a guy like, he's been doing this for a while. He takes any fight, but when it comes to the upper level, then maybe he just doesn't have like some of the natural, like that's me watching 3 fights though. So what do I know?
And that's the thing about the UFC, I suppose. Like, everyone talks about the NBA. Like, the NBA is like the best of the best of the best of the best of the best. And I think with the UFC, and I think the problem is because fighting, it's hard to tell, like point A from point B, like to the casual or to the naked eye, but as opposed to like your other conventional sports. We have to realize we're talking about the best of the best of the best of the best. Like I laid into Carl Roberson a little bit, but you have to remember he's the best of the best of the best of the best. Okay,
yeah.
So with Tyson Nam, you're talking about a guy who's the best of the best of the best of the best, facing off against the best of 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 the best, right? So.
Then you see guys like, wait, hold on, let me just pull up the card again, because there was a guy that really stood out to me yesterday. It might have been, I can't remember his name. No, yes, Charles Jourdain, 24 years old, out of Quebec.
Yeah.
Like, how? Like, how are you 24 years old fighting in your 3rd or 4th UFC fight? And in my opinion, up until the 3rd round, he was winning that fight. You know what I mean? Like, he was kind of touching Andre Touchy-Feely up. And I like Andre Touchy-Feely just for his name. Also because of his tattoos. And he's from the Bay, too, so he always does the hyphy dance. That's always
yeah. Well, you know what? I am not saying this just because he's Canadian. I thought he won the fight. I'll be honest.
I didn't think he won the fight. I thought Feely just had too many takedowns, especially 2nd and 3rd. Once he saw that he lost the 1st round, I think he was like, okay, I got to start wrestling. And I'm not sure Jourdain's wrestling is as good as Feely's yet, but his stand-up looked smooth. It looked slick. And not in like he's not like super, I don't want to say athletic in the way like an Adesanya or a lot of these other like kickboxers. He's more like plodding and slow, but man, he can still explode and definitely he can crack for sure. Man, that was a great fight.
I wonder though, like you're seeing a lot of these fighters come out of the Quebec area, and they're one of the few provinces that allow amateur martial arts as kind of pure as it can be. Like, you got pancration in Ontario, but it's not the same. So I wonder how much of Quebec is an MMA hotbed. So I wonder how much of it is that, hey, they get to have amateur martial arts as close to the real thing as possible. And so you're seeing a lot of guys, kind of build up build the building blocks a little bit, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's right? Like saying, like, why is soccer not big in Canada? Because we don't have a professional league. Like, it's that simple.
Well, we do now, but...
Kinda. I mean, we were going to up until the COVID hit, and I haven't heard a single word about it since then.
What was it? Like, the CPL has like some it has some teams, it's doing its best.
Right? No, they were gonna launch it like this year. Like, this was gonna be the first one. And yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen anymore. Not the way the finances are set up.
I hold out hope.
The other fight that stood out to me was Crazy Panda, only because she's a geologist, and she beat, I don't even know the name of the girl she beat. Was it Gina Mazzani? someone G Mazzani. I don't even know who that is, but
I'll be
shout out
honest with you.
Julia
I didn't
Avila.
watch that fight, so you're gonna have to go ahead on that one.
Julia Avila, she's a geologist by her day job. Shouts out the geologist. My dad's a geologist, so I thought it was pretty cool. She came in and put the whooping on her opponent.
The whooping?
Yeah, whooping. Man, she's big. She's 5'7". She's tough. She's strong. I feel like she's one of the few people I would say is probably as strong as like, GDR or
Okay.
Nunes. She's huge. Go look her up.
When I watched the fight, and she was like Amanda Nunes asking her like flurries of punches. She was very fast.
She's wild. I think maybe she would be picked apart by a better striker, but
I just think that, like, how much can you get? Like, I literally just watched it now. I didn't know it was 22
yeah,
seconds.
it's a 30-second fight.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was 22 seconds. I literally just watched now. How much do we really know about her in 22 seconds? You know what I'm
just
saying?
saying how she looks. I didn't
like, I get it. She's big. She's a big girl. She fights at bantamweight. I get it. But, like, how much do we really know?
Not a lot. But
yeah, so and she's fighting again. You have to keep in mind, one of the things about this COVID thing is that you're getting people, like, I'm not saying off the street, because again, we're talking about the best of the best of the best. You're getting guys
man,
who
they're
wouldn't
calling some
normally get a
guys off
call.
the street, man. They're calling some guys off the street, and they even admitted it.
Like, I'm waiting for my shot at it. Like, the phone's gonna call.
They might call. Seriously, keep practicing. They might call. At this rate, who knows? Another fight I wanted to talk about, not really the Dvalishvili fight. I mean, that guy he broke his record for takedowns, got 13 takedowns in the fight, and unanimous decision. Like, it was a whitewash, but he never taps anybody for some reason. But
I think it's just that weird, like, wrestling sambo style. You just go in there and just
Georgians, man, Georgians. Agapova is another fight I wanted to talk about. Maria Agapova versus Hannah Cifers. First of all, shouts out Hannah Cifers.
She fought again. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you? No, I'm glad you brought this. What if I'm Hannah Cifers? What management team does she have? Because they need to be fired immediately. They need to be fired, because why is she going out there? Hey, here's Mackenzie Dern, only like the fastest rising prospect we have, right? You want to fight her? Yeah, sure. All right. Here's Agapova. Oh yeah, Georgian, probably one of the best female wrestlers in her country. You want to fight her? Yeah, sure. Okay.
Hilarious. Yeah, no, Agapova. First of all, Agapova's like she's 24. Another thing I found interesting, or like 23 or something like that. Has a huge head and really, I don't want to say weird body, because that sounds like I'm body shaming, but she's shaped differently than a lot of fighters. She's really slender. She reminds me of Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Not as good as a striker, but has like a really mean intensity, which I really appreciated for a women fighter. Kind of reminds me of Cynthia Calvillo, who fights, I don't want to say like a dude, but her demeanor is very kind of like walking down.
Oh, yeah, she has that low, like, chin down,
man, I love
like,
that.
bobbing head style. I can see it.
Yeah. So I was really, I don't want to say impressed, but I thought Agapova looked sharp. And how long was it? Was it like even a round?
It was one round, 2 minutes 42 seconds.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is she's a grappler. Like, she's a grappler through and through. So it's weird that her body is that slender. Well, at least, like, most of the things I've seen from her is, like, she likes to get a lot of her decisions come from the ground, whether it's ground and pound or,
Hannah Cifers went up for that fight. Like, who is managing Hannah Cifers?
That's what I'm trying to explain. Like,
can I have a word?
Go up and weight to face someone who's known as a grappler, where, like, strength is a big deal? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like, and she's giving up, like, what, 7 inches? Like, come on, man.
Right. Plus, she's like one of the shortest women, like, in, like, it. She's small for 115.
Yeah.
I don't know, 125. She's small for 115.
Like,
So
I just thought that was a really interesting fight. But shouts out.
And then again, you could play that argument with Angela Hill. You could say that with Donald Cerrone. You could say
Ilir Latifi.
Yeah, you could say that with a lot of guys. You could be like, hey, Why is your management team your management team, right? At the end of the day, they pick their fights, right? If they want to fight, they fight, So
I just didn't get that matchup. And then the last one, Espinoza. I literally have never heard of this guy, but man, he put the beating on De La Rosa. Put a beating. Perfect.
I like De La Rosa.
Sure, man.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, he had a weird karate style. But man, Espinoza was just like picking them apart, just like pop, pop, pop. It was beautiful. I loved it. So yeah, big fan. I'll be watching his next fight. But yeah, those are the fights that stood out to me. Other than that, as we already said off cam, this was perhaps not the strongest of cards. I'm definitely way more excited for next week's card.
They called bullets in the chamber for next week.
Yeah, man. They should have just split it a little bit. Honestly,
I feel like they should some of the fights on this card would have been pretty good with next week's card. They should just took a week off, in my opinion. But
nah, because you just taking some of the fights. Like I see Lyman Good versus Bilal Muhammad. Like
that's gonna be a good one.
That's a great fight. You got
Josh Emmett's on the card too.
Josh, I mean that's like a main or co-main, so I can get why they wouldn't want to move that. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like. You got Roxanne Modafferi. Oh man, that's gonna be a good fight.
Roxanne.
All right.
All you want to do is kill Macy Barber.
All right. All right. Is there anything else that we haven't discussed that you want to get to?
No, I'm pretty solid. I'm straight. Do we have I don't have an asked question on me. Although, Jeremy has verbally agreed to fight Stefano if we can get up to 1,000 subscribers. So I want to try to get that happen.
We're gonna do it.
Yeah, he's verbally agreed. So Stefano, if you're listening to this, Jeremy's ready. I've been training him. He's been working.
Hilarious.
I'm down. I thought this was stupid.
Yeah, share. So I mean, if we have nothing to say, like, this is the time to threaten the lives of.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, please, Jeremy, take us home.
Yeah, like Michael said, if you share, like, subscribe, get people to subscribe to this wonderful podcast who's putting in we have interviews by David. We have, more content coming out, and we're putting together this podcast. So subscribe and get us to 1,000 subscribers so we can make this boat happen. And if you don't, we will feed you to the 7 blocks in Portland, Oregon.
Hilarious.
No, we're living in the modern day Hunger Games. I'm not really a threatener. So just please show support, just please. Michael, take it away.
I think this is why Stefano does all the threatening. For some reason, he's just better at it.
I think it starts with a P and ends with a privilege, but keep going on. I'm kidding, Stefano. I love
that.
Well, that's one way to call somebody a. Don't worry, I'm gonna beat that out.
Don't choke me out.
I'm gonna beat that out. Don't worry. In a crazy mixed up world where the world is burning and things are going just awry, know that even though we fight, we are your family. Okay? So subscribe to the Leg Kick and follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook. And even though we are not your real family, which you should pay attention to, love your mother, love your father, you still have us, life.
What are you
I'm trying. Just subscribe. You still have this podcast. Bye. Later.
Bye.